All right, so just to get started, in regards to injuries, we had Bobby Massey, who had low back tightness. He ended up coming out just after that 3rd and 1 that we didn't convert. He ended up coming out there, so we'll see where he's at here in the next couple days. And then in regards to Mitch, you know, he has a right hip pointer. It happened on the sack at the end of the second quarter. He took a knee by number 90, right into the hip / lower back, and so he went in, instead of going to the tent. It happened there at the end. We did it inside there with our trainer, and got looked at, and he you know, was in some pain. But we went through the whole thing. We knew about it, but we knew he was good to go, and so we played. What ended up happening over time with him is it became stiff and tighter, and that's where we ended up keeping an eye on it and noticing that we wanted to be careful of it affecting his play. And it's you'll see when it happened at the end of the second quarter, and then you'll also see when you go through it, you'll see some of the lack of follow throughs, arm throws, you know, where he wasn't able to really step into things. And so over time, when it became more of a concern with us as a staff, was when I said it was a couple series. So I knew about it. I knew he had a hip deal, but it wasn't significant enough to not play. And so but over time, the stiffness got to a point to where he really wasn't even able to sit on the bleachers, on the bench. So that's when I became aware of it, and then we kept an eye on him for about a series and a half, and then that's when, even before they scored the touchdown to go up 10, we had already made the decision that we were going to go in with Chase.
So when you ran the option on 3rd and
Yeah.
1, where was he at? I mean, that would seem to be
Right.
not a risky thing, but maybe a
Sure.
questionable thing with a guy
Yeah.
with a hip injury.
Yeah, that would be considered probably in the middle of where it was at halftime to what it started becoming when we ended up pulling him because of that. So, you know, you look at it and you say you can always look back and second guess those type of play calls. You know, even in general without an injury, you know, I still even sometimes to myself wish in that position you'd make a different play call. But I would say, to answer your question, it was probably in the middle of where it was coming out to start the 3rd to where it was at the 8 minutes to go or whatever at the 4th.
That conversation you had on the sidelines with him, where
Yeah.
you two were close together, that did not look like an ordinary, you know, are you okay kind of
Yeah.
conversation. What was the emotion like with that? What else besides the health of him?
Sure.
went into that conversation?
So the thing that you love about Mitch is that he's extremely tough. I love that about him. But at the same time, you know, he's at a point where you could see that it was painful. And so what I had to do was I wanted him to know, coming from me, that he needs to be brutally honest with me in regards to his pain and where he's at. And that's exactly what it was. I sat there and I told him, I said, listen, man, we appreciate your toughness. We appreciate you, being as tough as you can possibly be and want to stay in the game. But I need to be able to make a decision, because there's a fine line of that pain or being injured to where it affects how you play or decisions that you make because of being injured. And I think that's where we got to. And again, he's a tough blue collar kid and he's a fighter. But I wanted him to know that I fully support, if he's in pain and it hurts to play and too much to where it's affecting our team, I need to make a decision. And that's exactly what that was.
Did he try to fight you on that? Did he try to stay around?
Yeah, he did. He really wanted to, but you could tell, like, when you're in those moments, and I know him. I know him inside out, and I know how he is, and I appreciate that about him. But sometimes I have to protect him from himself, and that's what that was. That's exactly what that was. I mean, and then so right when that was done, and we knew we were going to do that, then I went ahead and told Chase and said, hey, get ready, start warming up, and that's what we did.
Are you aware that there's sort of a, I don't know what you call it, cloud of skepticism about this whole deal?
Yeah, that I'm aware through others that have told me that, and so that's why, like, in these type of situations, it's hard. Like right after the game, when you're interviewing and you're talking about different timelines and everything. There's a lot of stuff that's going on right after the game, but it's this one's so simple because there's nothing but pure honesty in all of this. I mean, it's literally. Everything that I just told you, conversation-wise, every decision that was made, it had zero to do with his play. Zero. It was completely based off of the injury that he had last night and where he's at, 100%.
So Matt, part of the, I'm not doubting what you're saying, but
Yeah.
part of the skepticism is I think that was like a 4+ minute drive the Rams had, and you said that you had made the decision.
Yeah.
Nobody saw Chase even warm up. What was
Well, he warmed up. He was down there throwing and taking snaps from Cody. He was warming up throwing. I don't know where that came from.
just nobody saw it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know who nobody is. He warmed up. He was throwing and took snaps. So that's why, I think that, I don't know where that came from, but yeah.
Is that tough with like you said, the communication of this? Because the national TV audience here,
Sure.
figures he gets benched, and then people start tweeting he gets benched.
Right. How do I improve?
I know.
No, just today, just explaining exactly what, I think the easiest way to do that, because when you're not a part of it and you don't really know what's going on, I'm by no means am I questioning what people are thinking or what they're seeing or observing. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm telling you is exactly what happened. And I really can't be more honest than that. We knew that he had a pain. There was pain. We had to monitor that the whole second half, and that's what we did. What happened is over time and in between drives, when you're not out on the field running around, and you'll see it. You guys will all see it when you look at the tape in the second half. You'll see it on almost every play. You'll notice where it's affecting him. After, whether it's a throw, whether it's a handoff, you'll see it. You'll notice it.
What's the status moving forward? Is he going to be practicing this week, and is he in jeopardy of missing Sunday?
We're working through that. Yep.
But if he's healthy, there's no question he's your starting quarterback.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How was he on the plane? If he couldn't sit on the bench, how was it the plane ride home? That couldn't have been.
I'm sure it wasn't too much fun. I mean, he was at the point where when he was coming out in the third quarter, we ended up hitting Tariq on a little draw on the 12-yard gain, and he's supposed to stand up and then bend down and then hand the ball off. He couldn't even do that. So just the movement of the hips, everything was a lot of arm. There wasn't much stepping into throws. And then the other part of it too was we came out in the third quarter knowing that he had this issue, but knowing it wasn't enough to affect him, and we went right down the field and we scored a touchdown. And so in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm not even thinking it's an issue. But then as time went on, and as we had to think 3 or 4 3-and-outs after that, and that's when it started becoming stiffer and stiffer. Then it was brought to my attention that, hey, we got to monitor this. And once I did that, then I was watching them now. Now I'm calling specific plays and monitoring it. And that's when, once I saw the last 3-and-out that he had, that's when everything happened then. And it was before they scored that touchdown to make it 10. Chase was going in with, if they would have kicked a field goal regardless, Chase was going in.
There was a pretty significant delay in the news getting up to the broadcast booth. So
Really?
it was mentioned earlier that, for several minutes, Collinsworth is saying, well, this could signal the, changing of the guard in Chicago.
Yeah.
What's the process for this, how it's supposed to get up there so that there isn't?
That I don't know. I'm so lasered in on calling the next series and all that, and we have our chain of command of what we did and how we did it, and even somebody asked me last night at the press conference in regards, did your players know? I mean, they're rolling so much. They see Chase warming up. They see him taking snaps. They know if they see that there's a possibility that he's going in, and we don't have time to be discussing all that, And so we went with it there, that final drive.
The problem there, for whatever it's worth, is what Michael said, is
Yeah.
PR tells us there's nothing to report.
Gotcha.
And so that's why there was an assumption there was no injury. Matt, we ask you about Mitch because you're the boss and
Sure.
quarterback. I know you're not inside his head, but in his comments after the game, he didn't even seem to know what the injury was. He was talking about something in the hip region, and he was really vague. And it's kind of hard at this point, talking to the young man, to believe
Right.
that his head's on straight as far as being the starting quarterback right now.
Yeah, well, that's not that shouldn't be an issue. It really shouldn't. I mean, he had after the game is an emotional time. You can at least respect that. And I think that, for him, everything that he's been going through, and then to have this happen, he's no dummy. Everyone, in that situation, everyone thinks that that's what it is or that's what it's going to be. So I'm sure that was probably still going through his head even in that press conference, And so we lose a game. There's the emotions of that. There's a lot going on there. And so I think we have to take a little bit of that into account with that whole 24-hour deal.
If you talk about the grades of injuries, like, you
Yeah.
how tough is that to decide, like, when, you're seeing him, he's so stiff he can't bend over, when does it come to you like, all right, I got to pull this trigger now?
So I would probably say decision-making is probably where you see, because some of it physically, like, again, you're going to watch that first drive of the third quarter when we went down there and scored, and there's going to be times in there, it's after he throws it, or it's the little bit of the gimp afterwards that you'll see it. And there'll be some times when, again, you won't see him stepping into throws, it's all arm. But when you're producing and decisions are good, then great. But when it starts to affect a little bit of your decisions because of your injury, that's when I think you got to draw the line and say, okay, when is it becoming a part to where it maybe is affecting the team? And that's not an easy call. You got to go with your gut on that, and you got to go with talking through as to. That's why I did that and talked to him one-on-one like that, because that's about as real as it gets. Is me, and it's impossible to have privacy, so I put my deal, so I can have a little privacy. But that was a very real conversation. It wasn't easy for him, and I just wanted him to know that we support him. But I want to do what's best not only for him but for our team as well, and that's what it was.
Have you been able to go through the tape yet, Matt?
Yeah.
What was your impression of the offensive line play last night?
Yeah, there was well, number one, I'll start with this. We were going against a pretty good front. The 99 is special. That said, I do believe that at times there was some leakage, whether it was in pass pro, in the run game, a couple times where we could have held the point a little bit longer overall. But again, that's a pretty good front that we went against. And overall, as an offense, it was really sloppy. Not just the line, just everywhere across the board.
Matt, the first quarter, the Rams hit that 50-yard strike to Cooper Kupp. It looked like he found breakdown in coverage there. Eddie seemed like he was creeping in. What was your read of what went wrong on that play?
Yeah, no, it was, we had Eddie coming down, and they ended up making a good throw and decision there by Goff, and good play by Cooper to make it. But, without getting into too many details of that, I got to go back and talk to Chuck a little bit into the why part.
Mac did not factor in the stat sheet. Obviously, they were doing a lot to prevent him.
Yeah.
What can you guys do to scheme him into getting some look and pressuring the quarterback more?
Just that's you see that with some of the production, and you see that with a lot of superstars. Is you could go back to last year with Aaron Donald, right? When he played us, there wasn't any, and so sometimes that happens, but it opens it up for other guys. He was a part of that first play of the game with the fumble. He was right in on there with 39 with Eddie Jackson ripping that ball out. But Khalil, he doesn't have to change anything he's doing. He's a pretty good player, and he understands in the scheme that it's cyclical, and we're just in that right now. Teams are they're gonna go ahead and double him every single game, and it just gives opportunities to other guys.
I think you talk about all the complexities of Mitch's injury, the kicking situation.
Yeah.
Whatever. Maybe just kind of a question about the play calling.
Yeah.
The amount of complex things on you as a head coach. Any more thoughts about perhaps realigning the play calling?
Yeah. So what I would say is this: for me, I've told everybody this. I always, matter of fact, I spent a lot of my morning this morning going through schematically the scheme part, because if there's things in the scheme that the other team is getting you or it's not there, I'll be the first to tell you. then we need to be better, or if there's a rhythm to something, I have zero ego and I have zero care of giving play call duties to somebody else. I really do not care about that. And if that's what that we feel like from going through it, that's what we need to do, then I would do that. I really would. But when you go through the tape and you look at things and you know schematically where we're at and what we're calling and when we're calling it, there's without a doubt a few plays in that game that I would go back to and say, you know what, that's our fault. We didn't scheme it right, and that starts with me. And so if I need to be able to accept that and know how do I fix that. But we'll do everything we can to we're turning over every stone to get this thing right.
On the Rams play, the touchdown run,
Yeah.
and this isn't a criticism of effort, but the tackling didn't look like usual with Eddie Jackson and people like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you sense the defense, the Gobbard on down or something, they have a slump?
I would no, because again, it's very similar to this whole year. I felt like they played. I mean, go back to it now. They got those turnovers early on. We got 2 turnovers in the first quarter. We came away with 0 points. And so I'm going to always continue to make it very clear that I think our defense is playing really, really well. I really do. What has happened is we're not scoring points. And when you score 7 points, you don't win a lot of football games. And now you get to the end of the game, and I'd say if there's one place that we could get better, it would be probably like some of those third downs at the end of games, being able to get off the field. And then they had that third down. We were playing cover 2. They hit the side pocket fade down to the inside the 5. The next play, then they scored. And I think that's what you're talking about. So it can be emotionally deflating when that happens. And but I'll never, ever, ever question our guys' effort because, what we've been going through, I just really appreciate, how they handle things. And I have a lot of respect and love for our defense.
So you're breaking down the offense today. So I think you guys are in 74 plays, and
Yeah.
7 points. That's pretty rare.
Yeah, it is.
What are you seeing from?
Just so going into the game yesterday, third and 8 to 10 against that defense on the season. Teams were 0 for 15 on the season. They were 3 for 15 on 11 to 14. So you take 3 for 30 on third down from 3rd and 8 to 3rd and 14. 3 for 30 on the year. So our number one goal going into that thing was let's stay underneath that 8-yard mark, right? Let's stay 7 and less. Well, the first third down of the game is 3rd and 10, and we got it. So we finally, that was a good start. But 74 plays, we didn't have one play over 19 yards. We had a swing route to 32 to David Montgomery for 19. That was our longest play of the deal. And then a shallow cross on third down to Tariq Cohen, where he caught it at 4 yards, 5 yards depth, and ran for another 13, 14. So those were our 2 longest plays. So again, I go back to the explosives. We didn't have a lot of explosives. Our longest run play of the game was by 29 for 12 yards, it's just when you don't have those explosives, you're not in the red zone as much. We were efficient on 3rd and 10 from the 14-yard line. We hit touchdown, but 74 plays, 7 points, can't have it.
Might Mitch benefit emotionally and physically if you shut him down?
No, because that's just not. We'll see where he's at. As we go here the next couple of days, we'll see where he's at. But that's not what he wants, and that's not what we want. We want to keep growing.
The explosives,
Yeah, that's fine.
you were down to 2 backup tight ends and a converted tackle.
Yeah.
Without a solid, I don't want to say that, without solid play at the Y position,
Mm-hmm.
how difficult is it to free up the guys for the more explosive plays?
Hub, I think you hit a great point there. That's a position right there we always talk about the Y position, but the U position, but there is some significance there to the Y position, and so we're kind of working through a little bit of that, and there's you have to maneuver some things on what you want to do, and it makes it a little bit more challenging, but that's where we're at, and we understand that, and so we appreciate the guys and like the JP Holtz, for him to step in the way he has. It's very, he doesn't get recognized a lot, but he's done a lot of good things for us at that position.
What what went into shutting down Burden? And was that more related to the groin than the calf, or vice versa?
Just a little bit of both. He had that calf, and I think that, just overall, you kind of knew from the year how that was going, and then we had that, so it just made sense.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.